O.J. Simpson. O.J. motherfucking Simpson was once one of the most loved athletes in America. Bro dominated the NFL, acted in films like shit, at least to me, and built a reputation as a friendly public figure. But his life became surrounded by controversy after a highly publicized murder trial in the 1990s. Even though he was acquitted, the public remained divided and confused. And years later, Simpson's name returned to headlines for a completely different crime, which I don't think I can talk about here. But of course, I really don't care. In 2007, he entered a Las Vegas hotel room with several men to confront memorabilia dealers. Simpson claimed the items belonged to him, but witnesses described a tense confrontation involving weapons and threats. Police investigated, and prosecutors argued that this was not simply retrieving property, but an armed robbery. The trial gained huge media attention because of Simpson's history. In 2008, he was convicted on multiple charges, including kidnapping and armed robbery. He was sentenced to 33 years in prison. His downfall was exactly like how my girlfriend treated me when she found someone better than me. A man once celebrated on national television ended up in handcuffs, like a bitch. The case became one of the most dramatic examples of how fame cannot protect someone from consequences. R. Kelly. For decades, R. Kelly was one of the biggest names in R&B music, but still an asshole. His songs topped charts, and he influenced an entire generation. But behind the success, disturbing allegations quietly followed him. Over time, more victims came forward, describing manipulation, control, and abuse. Investigators uncovered a pattern that stretched across years. Testimonies described strict rules, isolation, and emotional pressure. The case gained global attention after documentaries encouraged survivors to speak publicly. During the trial, prosecutors presented recordings, witness statements, and travel records. The courtroom heard detailed accounts that shocked fans. Kelly denied wrongdoing, but the evidence convinced the jury. He was convicted on serious charges and sentenced to decades in prison. The reaction was intense. Fans who once celebrated his music struggled to accept the truth. Radio stations removed songs, and collaborations disappeared. The story highlighted how fame can hide disturbing behavior for years. Eventually, the legal system caught up, and one of the biggest music icons saw his empire collapse completely. Ronaldinho, the GOAT number 10 and one of the greatest footballers of his generation, mesmerized the world with skill, creativity, and charisma on the pitch. But his life off the field took a dark turn in 2020 when authorities in Paraguay arrested him and his brother for allegedly using fake passports to enter the country. Ronaldinho had traveled for business and public events, unaware that legal documents were fraudulent, or so he claimed. Prosecutors argued that the former football superstar had knowingly broken the law, while Ronaldinho insisted it was unintentional. The case drew global attention. Fans struggled to reconcile the magician on the field with a man behind bars. For weeks, Ronaldinho and his brother were held in a Paraguayan prison, living under strict conditions and facing international scrutiny. Eventually, after a deal with prosecutors and paying fines, they were released under house arrest and later allowed to leave the country. Despite avoiding long-term imprisonment, the case stunned the world. A man who once graced stadiums with cheering crowds, getting appreciation by the opposition, now faces the stark reality of the legal system. Bro's reputation suffered like a decaying mango, and the incident became a cautionary tale. Even global icons are vulnerable to legal consequences. Bill Cosby, I truly respect Bill, but for fuck's sake, he's a total jerk. Bill Cosby spent decades building a wholesome image. He was known as a family-friendly comedian and a respected television star. Many fans saw him as a role model. However, allegations surfaced claiming he exploited his influence. Over time, multiple women described similar experiences. Investigations followed, leading to criminal charges in one case. The trial shocked fans because of Cosby's clean image. Testimonies revealed disturbing details. Cosby denied wrongdoing, but the jury found him guilty. He was sentenced to prison in 2018. The reaction was massive. A man once celebrated as America's dad now faces prison bars. Although his conviction was later overturned on procedural grounds, he did serve time. The case remains controversial and disturbing. Fuck you, Bill. Chris Brown. Back in the day when I was just an adolescent, Chris Brown was my icon. Chris Brown was one of the fastest rising stars in pop and R&B music. Young, talented, and widely loved, he seemed unstoppable. But in 2009, everything changed after a violent argument with singer Rihanna. Police reports described serious injuries and photos quickly spread online. The public reaction was immediate and intense. Brown later pleaded guilty to felony assault. He was sentenced to probation, community service, and counseling. However, He later violated probation conditions and spent time in jail. The incident permanently changed his image. Some fans continued supporting him, while others distanced themselves. Brands ended partnerships, and radio stations paused his music. Despite continuing his career, the case remains one of the most disturbing examples of celebrity violence. It showed how quickly success can be overshadowed by a single moment of anger. I still remember the day when I used to vibe to Chris Brown music. Oh, I miss it now. Donald Trump, my man, Donald Trump, the 45th and the current most hated president of the United States, is one of the most polarizing and shit figures in modern history. Even after leaving office in 2010, his name dominates headlines, not for politics alone, but for multiple high-profile legal battles. His recent attack on Iran was supposed to make the U.S. look strong and keep his aura high, but instead the aura graph totally hit rock bottom. Such a pussy. Trump has faced investigations ranging from financial dealings, tax audits, and business practices to allegations related to election interference. In some cases, prosecutors have filed charges or lawsuits against him and his companies, drawing massive media attention. The scale of scrutiny is unprecedented for a former head of state. Courtrooms replaced campaign rallies as reporters dissected evidence, witnesses testified under oath, and millions watched as legal documents revealed details of complex schemes and potential violations. While Trump has consistently denied wrongdoing, and no charges have resulted in prison time, the ongoing cases keep him at the center of controversy. His legal struggles demonstrate that even the most powerful individuals are not immune to the law. And let me tell you, this son of a bitch is beyond the law. God bless. The public reaction is divided. Supporters call the investigations politically motivated, while critics see them as accountability catching up with someone used to immense influence. Trump's story is a reminder that fame, wealth, and power do not make anyone untouchable, and the shadow of the law looms large over even the most iconic figures. Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes was a major Hollywood action star and the biggest known for blockbuster films and a strong on-screen presence. At the height of his career, few people imagined he would face criminal charges. However, authorities began investigating him for failing to file tax returns over several years. Prosecutors claim that Snipes ignored legal advice and followed questionable financial strategies that encouraged him not to pay taxes. The amount involved reached millions of dollars. During the trial, his defense argued that he was misled by financial advisors, but the prosecution insisted he was responsible for his own actions. The jury ultimately found him guilty. In 2008, Snipes was sentenced to prison and served time behind bars. The conviction shocked fans who knew him only as a disciplined action hero. His film career slowed significantly after the sentence. The case became a warning that financial negligence can have serious consequences, even for wealthy celebrities. Snipes later attempted a comeback, but the prison time made him suffer like a smelly cock. Lil' Kim rose to fame in the late 1990s as one of the most influential female rappers. Her bold style and confident personality made her a standout in the music industry. But her career took a serious hit after a shooting incident outside a radio station in New York. Authorities launched an investigation and called her to testify before a grand jury. Prosecutors later argued that Lil' Kim lied under oath to protect friends who were involved. The government presented surveillance footage and witness testimony contradicting her statements. The case quickly became high profile because of her celebrity status. In 2005, she was convicted of perjury and conspiracy. She was sentenced to prison and served several months. Fans were surprised because the crime was not violence or drugs, but lying to investigators. Her career slowed after the conviction and public perception. Lauryn Hill became a global star after her groundbreaking album and work with the Fugees. Her music earned critical acclaim and multiple awards. However, despite her success, Hill became involved in legal trouble related to taxes. Authorities revealed she had failed to pay taxes on millions of dollars earned over several years. Hill argued she stepped away from public life and struggled with financial management, but the court ruled that she still had a legal responsibility. During sentencing, Hill spoke openly about her situation, saying she felt pressured by the system. Despite her explanation, she was sentenced to prison in 2013. The case shocked fans who saw her as an artistic icon rather than someone involved in financial misconduct. Her absence from the music scene became even longer after the sentence. Hill's situation shows that even baddies must follow the financial laws. Hill later returned to performing, but the prison time remains a notable chapter in her career. Tim Allen. Before becoming a beloved comedian and television star, Tim Allen lived a very different life. In 1978, he was arrested at an airport for possession of a large amount of illegal drugs. The charges were serious, and Allen faced a potential life sentence. During the legal process, he cooperated with authorities and provided information that reduced his sentence. He ultimately served over 2 years in prison. At the time, he was not yet famous, but when he later rose to stardom, the story resurfaced. Fans were surprised to learn that the family-friendly comedian had once been involved in drug trafficking. Allen openly discussed the experience in interviews, explaining how prison changed his perspective. He used the experience as motivation to rebuild his life and pursue comedy. Tim's life was nearly wholesome, until prison turned it completely nasty. Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg is now known as a successful actor and producer, but his early life included serious legal trouble. As a teenager, he was involved in multiple incidents, including assault. One particular case involved a violent attack that led to criminal charges. Wahlberg pleaded guilty and served time in prison. At the time, he was not famous, but when he later became a Hollywood star, the case resurfaced. Many fans were shocked to learn about his past. Wahlberg later apologized publicly and spoke about changing his life. He emphasized that he regretted his actions and worked to move forward. Despite his successful career, the incident remains controversial. It demonstrates how early mistakes can follow someone, even after achieving fame. His story is often discussed as both a cautionary tale and an example of personal transformation after facing consequences. 50 Cent. Before becoming a global rap superstar, 50 Cent had a difficult upbringing. He became involved in illegal activities at a young age. Authorities arrested him on drug-related charges, and he served time in prison. The experience influenced his music and public persona. After his release, he focused on building a music career. When he became famous, his past became widely known. Unlike some celebrities who try to hide their criminal history, 50 Cent openly referenced it in his songs. However, the prison time still shocked some fans. His story showed how someone could transition from crime to success, but it also highlighted the consequences of early life decisions. Prior to his arrest, he'd been an entrepreneur. What he said to Esquire is, though he'd never been through the system before, he had little faith in it from the get-go. I knew early on that I was going to prison for the rest of my life, and that there was nothing that no one was going to be able to do to help me, he told the magazine. Even on the witness stand at trial, there were people up there and I had no clue who they were. I had never seen them a day in my life, and they were pointing the finger at me saying that I was their boss. This motherfucker really did everything to music, but with the lifestyle he had, it really made it bad for him. Paris Hilton. Paris Hilton became famous through reality television and media attention. She was known for luxury, parties, and a glamorous lifestyle. However, her legal troubles began with traffic violations. After being caught driving with a suspended license, she was placed on probation. When she violated probation, the court decided to impose jail time. The sentence was short, but the media attention was massive. Cameras followed her arrival at jail, and headlines spread worldwide. Many people were surprised that a wealthy socialite would actually serve time. Hilton later described the experience as difficult and life-changing. The case showed that even minor legal violations can lead to serious consequences if ignored. Her image shifted from carefree celebrity to someone who had faced real punishment. Sean Diddy Combs, an absolute legendary figure in hip-hop and business, faced shocking legal trouble when he was accused of multiple serious crimes. Prosecutors charged him with racketeering, sex trafficking, and transporting women for prostitution, centering on alleged incidents involving ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura and a woman known as Jane. After a high-profile trial, Combs was convicted on 2 counts of transporting women for prostitution, a crime under the Mann Act that dates back to 1910. He was acquitted of racketeering and sex trafficking charges, which could have carried even harsher penalties. The conviction alone carried a maximum prison sentence of 10 years per count. After the verdict, Combs's lawyers requested bail, which was denied. Prosecutors sought a minimum of 11 years, while his defense argued for leniency, citing his contributions to music, business, and family. Combs himself admitted in a letter to the judge, "I lost my way, I have been humbled, and broken to my core." Meanwhile, his accusers warned the court of the dangers of releasing him, citing fear of retaliation. Danny Trejo. Danny Trejo is famous for playing tough characters in movies. Interestingly, his on-screen persona reflects parts of his real life. Before acting, Trejo served time in prison for robbery and drug offenses. His life changed after he became involved in rehabilitation programs. Later, he entered the film industry and built a successful acting career. Fans were surprised to learn that the intimidating actor had actually lived a criminal past. Trejo often speaks about prison as a turning point. His story is both disturbing and inspiring. It shows how someone can move from crime to redemption.